Hey!
Hello.
Okay, awesome. It's working.
You have a good setup
Okay,
going there.
yeah. Took a minute, but we're ready. How are you?
Girl, I'm good. How's the
Good.
weather over there?
It's good. It's sunny.
Really?
Everybody, this is Paulina. Paulina, can you please introduce yourself? Just tell us who you are, what you're about, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Paulina Prieto. I'm Puerto
Ooh!
Rican.
Wait, say that again.
Paulina Prieto.
I love that.
Yeah. I'm Puerto Rican. I am a volleyball player. I play professional volleyball for a living. And I each other on Instagram, and ever since then, it's been us supporting each other and following each other along our crazy rides.
Yes, and I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah,
Okay,
me
awesome.
too.
Well, Paulina, I know it's weird times right now, and we're all experiencing it in an interesting, unique way.
Hmm.
So can you tell us a little bit about like how you're doing, what's up, what you're feeling is going on in the world right now, on a
Yeah.
collective level? And yeah,
Um, for me, it's been a roller coaster, really. And from everyone that I've seen on Instagram and just everyone that I talk to that I care about, it's kind of been the same, just moment by moment, figuring out um, how to let go and kind of like center ourselves and just live day by day, really. But yeah, collectively, I mean, this is unprecedented times, like everyone said, and there's a lot of fear going on. Um, a lot of sadness, a lot of grief for everyone that's going through the toughest times of their life, losing jobs and in the hospitals and stuff like that. But at the same time, there's hope. That we've seen some of the best in humanity, like us supporting each other and finding new ways to get creative, and people
yes,
kind of like going inward. And it's for me, it's really been a time to look within and just appreciate and like give thanks the fact that I can. As a professional volleyball player, in the league that I'm in, which was in Puerto Rico, my island, I had a lot of free time, thankfully, and so it's nothing new that I have time to like sit with myself and like go inward. I think everyone can make time for that. So there hasn't been like that much of a change. But I mean, with me being a rebel, like not being able to go outside, like for everyone, it's tough.
yeah, for sure.
So
For
yeah.
sure. Well, let's backtrack a little bit. So you've been playing volleyball for how long?
I'm 26 years old. I turned
Mhm.
26 in January, and there's my dog.
Oh, Kansas.
Yep, Kansas. I've been playing since I was 7 years old. Yeah,
Wow. So it's been a
yeah.
long journey for you. So we kind of talked before this a little bit, and you were saying how sometimes you forget that you're a volleyball player
Hmm.
because you're involved in so many other things and you identify as so many other things.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like right now, some people are faced with sort of an identity crisis. If,
Hmm.
for athletes in particular, they put a lot of their time, energy, efforts into their skill, into their craft, especially if it's their career, right? They're thinking about it 24/7. They are that thing.
Hmm.
So now they're forced a little bit to take a step back outside of athletics and say, hey, who am I? What else is there?
Yeah. Kind of going through an identity crisis.
Yeah. So how would you like what would you recommend for people and going through that, and how can someone go on that journey to discovering who they are?
Hmm. Well, for starters, the reason why I forget I'm a volleyball player sometimes, this league that I've been playing in the last 3 years, like since I started my professional career, It's really like, for me, the best like lifestyle you can ask for. I love being in nature. I love the beach. And of course, being in my island, it's great. And so we play at night, we practice at night, like the whole day we're like in the beach or hanging out, you know, like it really isn't how it was, for example, in college when I was like in the top D1 schools and, you know, working from like 5 a.m. till like 10 p.m., 1 a.m. sometimes. Like,
Sheesh.
it was the hardest I've worked in volleyball. And like also I had to, you know, deal with a lot of time management and really just being around other athletes. Like, I had never been surrounded just by athletes, like
Yeah.
those 5 years that I was in college. So like when I was in college, like it really was like my identity. And I mean, I personally like struggled a lot more with it when I went to Penn State first. So I transferred schools. So
Right.
I first went to Penn State
Mm-hmm.
in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And then we won a championship there in 13, which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, I was struggling because, yeah, it was the number one school in volleyball and like it was amazing in so many ways. But I felt like the environment that I was in was more of, like you said, like people see you as an athlete, like you're a body that like produces, and like they don't really see you as a human being per
Mm-hmm.
se. So I struggled a lot with that because I think like ever since I can remember like being a child, like my grandma, my mother's mom, like she instilled spirituality in me.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like I was always very aware that I'm not even a human being, like I'm a soul in a, like living a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
And more so, like I'm not just an athlete, I'm also a human being, you know?
Right.
And like, you know, like athletes, a lot of the time, like we're taught that our body produces for us, but like we're not really taught to like listen to our bodies and like,
Mm.
oh, like what is my body saying? Like you were talking about it in some of your other lives, like we have emotions stored in our bodies,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's why we meditate and we try to be aware by doing things like that. But it's like nobody really like talks about that, especially in the athlete world,
Mm-hmm.
that because you're seen as weak, you know.
Yep.
You have to be strong, you have to work hard, you have to be the strongest worker or hardest worker in the gym, you have to get there first, leave last. So it's very ego based,
Mm.
I would say, for those that understand really like the terms of ego and kind of soul. But yeah, like it's very ego based. And so I've done better when I've had a more balanced life. So I still love volleyball. It's
Mm-hmm.
brought me like everything I have in my life, like
Mm-hmm.
community, which is like what I enjoy the most out of it, right? But when it's not in a balance, like with anything in life, like job, family, whatever, like if you don't have a balance, like you're not going to do well, you know?
Yeah, it's unhealthy.
So I forgot the question actually, but um,
Finding your identity and things other than your sport and how you kind of came to
right.
that. So you were going through this while you were in college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like 17 years old to when did I graduate? Like 23. But even before then, like in high school, like a lot of athletes can attest to this. Like when you're in middle school, high school, like what's your biggest goal? To get a scholarship. And like
Mm-hmm.
then when you start getting offers, it's like, oh, okay, like I want to go to the best school. And
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of athletes actually, like you don't even go to a school because of what they might have to offer with education. You just go there
Mm.
because you want to play for that team, you know? And you
Mm-hmm.
want to play for that coach.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy. Like when you get to college and people, and I struggled with this, like people would ask me like, oh, what do you want to study? Like advisors and
You're
stuff like
like,
that.
school.
And I was like,
I'm not here for
I'm
school.
here to play. Which I mean, I had to mature a lot in that area and like be a
Uh-huh.
better student wasn't the best. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, like it's pretty much like your whole life I mean, a lot of people like play more than one sport, and like respect to them because I dedicated my whole life to just one sport, and like it took every bit out of me. And my
Mm-hmm.
mother who like took me everywhere, and
Right.
you know? So
Practices and everything.
yeah. But kind of going back to what you were asking, like, yeah, a lot of people right now, like even people that we look at as like gods, like LeBron James and uh, I don't know, just like the greatest of the game, like they're struggling, you know? Like, yeah, they might have more money than, for example, I do, but like they lost their job. I lost my job. And like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I lost what I love to do. And
Yeah.
so for a lot of people that kind of haven't been through my journey of like exploring what other like houses they have in their like, you know, or what other rooms they have in their house of like passions,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard because you're like, oh my God, the one thing that I do, the one thing that I love to do got taken away from me. Who am I? And
Yeah.
that is like the
The
hardest, like
tough question
no one
first.
talks about that when you're in college. Like you go through college and like literally, like I said, you're so busy, like 5 a.m. to like 1 a.m. sometimes. You're so busy that you're just kind of going through the motions. And then graduation time comes along and you're like, oh my God, like, what do I do? Do I go play professionally? Like, do I go get a job? Like,
Yeah.
you know, and like a lot of people, like, I went through it hard and like I'm still kind of like coming out of it. Um, like, you go through this period of time where you're like, figuring out how to do life. And it's that time where even people that aren't athletes, like they're figuring out life. It's your early 20s, like freaking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, for the people that are going through an identity crisis right now, what could I say to them? Just sit with it, man. Like for me, it was, you know, making space for it. So the first year that I went and played professional, and I'll get personal here because it's really a big part of like my story and like
Mm-hmm.
what made me explore even more. First month, first week that I'm playing like professionally in Puerto Rico, my dad passes away,
Yeah.
and for me it was like so unexpected that it kind of like shook me to my core and like just kind of was that point in my life where it was like before my dad passing away, after my dad passing away. Like it just
Wow.
really made me
Pivotal
think
time.
about life. Yeah. And like, so I kind of just went through the motions through season, the 5 months that I played here, and I enjoyed it, obviously. But after you know, I was supposed to play with the national team
Mm-hmm.
and here in Puerto Rico, and I chose not to because I was like, I need to sit with myself and like feel this through. Because if I do what most of the other volleyball players do, they play
Which you
all
could
year
have.
round. I could
Yeah.
have. I chose not to because I was like, I know me. Like, I didn't know myself then. I know more now. But,
Mm-hmm.
but, yeah, like at the time I was like, I'm gonna like break down at some point, you know, and like this needs to happen. So at the time, I wasn't that vulnerable to say it when everyone was asking, like, how come is she like not playing? And I said that I had a physical injury. And like
You didn't even
everyone's
tell
like,
them.
yeah, everyone's like,
Wow.
oh yeah, she has a physical injury. It's all good. Like she'll be back. But if you were to say, I don't want to play for the national team because my dad passed away and I'm struggling, you know what people would say? Like mental health is not as important as physical health. And this like,
Which is so twisted because your
it's so
mental health is
twisted.
so,
It's
I
just
feel
as
like,
important, if
entangled
not
with
more.
your physical health. Exactly.
Yeah. So, and I mean, both affect each other as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like mental health is not taken as seriously in this like capitalist like do world, you know? And like right now, we're not able to do. So we're like being forced to do what I kind of did, which is to just sit with yourself and say, all right, like, am I still worthy of love? Even if I'm not creating, even if I'm not doing something, like, who am I if I'm not a volleyball player? Like, oh, am I gonna
Yeah.
get depressed and like feel worthless because I'm sitting on a couch crying my eyes out while my teammates are playing somewhere in another country? Or am I gonna like give myself love because I need it, you know?
You're
And who else is
human.
gonna,
You go through emotions.
yeah. And everybody experiences things like differently. So, I mean, right now, for all the like athletes that are going through this identity crisis, like some might not even be going through an identity crisis. They're just waiting. All right, when is this going to be over? Like, let's just go back to season kind of thing. Or some might be like, all right, like, what if I'm never playing a volleyball game again? Like, maybe somebody was like planning on retiring. I know some people, and like,
Well,
this might have been the last game that they like ever played, you know, like depending on how long this takes and like how things really look after this, you know. We don't know how things are going to look. So there's a lot of surrendering going on collectively in the athlete world and everyone.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Whew, that's powerful.
That's a lot.
I love that, and thank you for being open with your story, because that's really not easy to do. And I know other people will appreciate that too, you know, because like you said, it's mental health is not always prioritized or even looked at as normalized. I mean, now it's becoming more accepted, but especially in the athlete world, people forget sometimes that these people are going through things outside of what you see.
Yeah, you'd be surprised,
you know?
like, we are just as sensitive as everyone else. Like, people will yell stuff in the stands, and like, even in my Instagram account, like, I remember when because after, like, I getting a call. So as I was saying, like, after season, I decided to take a break for the summer, and that ended up being a whole year and a half of not playing. Because I chose not to. And so I had a lot of messages come that were loving and were like, hey, I don't know what you're going through. I don't know why you're not playing. Because by then I wasn't really saying that it was a physical injury or even talking to people about why I wasn't playing. But what was I saying? But yeah, it turned into a year and a half, and like, I forgot. I lost my train of thought.
You were saying that,
I think so much.
Yeah, I know. Me too. And we get so wrapped up in this, but how people are forced to sit with their emotions.
Oh yeah, that we're just as sensitive as everyone else. And so when I was in Colorado, like wanting to be in nature, wanting to do my own thing for a year, I had messages come from people saying like, what's wrong with you? Are you depressed? Because I was like speaking like more openly kind of about like what I was going through and like why I was in Colorado, and like my dad had passed away. And so slowly but surely I was like sharing, even though I was kind of in the middle of it, so it was hard to be vulnerable. And so I had a lot of people be like, hey, like you should be in a volleyball court, like that's all you're good for. And like in my comment section, and like by now you should know, don't read the comments, but like you read them anyway, and it sticks with you, and like you're just as sensitive as anybody else. So like a lot of people think like you're an athlete, that's all you do. Like you're an entrepreneur, like all you're thinking about is like what's the next idea, like, or you're a mom, that's all you are. No, like we're human beings. Like there's a lot that makes a human being, you know. Yeah.
So how did you kind of discover what your purpose is? Because you kind of said that you and I talked a little bit before this about how you've had your own spiritual journey through these experiences, right? These experiences of pain, and how you used pain as transformational instead of letting it hold you back.
Yeah. I mean, for me, pain has been my greatest gift. And the reason why, it's brought me to myself. Like pretty much since I moved to Miami, Florida, where I kind of started like my journey in like getting recruited and high school and all that. It was, you know, you're a kid, you're just kind of having fun and whatever, but I didn't realize like how much baggage I was like holding on to from my childhood and like with my dad. And so anyways, like all these years of like, you know, kind of embodying like the athlete, you know, persona, and not really looking within, when this thing hits me and like I feel so much pain, it really just brought me to myself, and like it made me find parts of myself that I didn't know were there. And at first, a lot of like shame that people don't talk about when you like sit with yourself and you realize like how human you are. Um, like being human is not easy. And like you have a lot of things that are like shameful to share. Like for example, like some of the things that I'm kind of looking at right now, like I'll be honest, like is codependency. Like
Mm-hmm.
how we look to our friends, we look to our partners, our relationships,
Mm-hmm.
for anything like distractions to just kind of numb and not like look within, and like we seek validations from like praise from other people instead of giving it to
Mm.
ourselves.
Yep.
And so like that's one of the things that I like realized like this whole like quarantine time, like I've been codependent as hell my whole life. Like I've been from one boyfriend to another, and like I blame them for like why it didn't work out, and then it's like where was my part? And like,
Mm.
you know, like
And
I
that's not
was,
easy to admit.
hell no. And like even more to like share, you know, to other
Absolutely.
people.
Yeah.
And but anyways, like that, you know, feeling that shame, feeling that pain ultimately is what makes you want to grow, and like is what makes you want to change things and be better. And I think like collectively, not we're going through that right now as like a society, but just as individuals, like even before this thing, like we have to grow, you know, like you can't stay stagnant because life is always changing and life is always gifting you with
Mm.
things, pain being one
Mm.
of them. Like life is
Mm-hmm.
gifting you
You have to
with,
find that though. You have to recognize it.
yeah, well, you can like we were saying in our FaceTime, you can suppress it like all your life. But like,
Yep.
how's that really going to look like on the outside? It might look like really bad. And like it might get to a point where you just can't, which is what happened to me. So life always happens for you, you know, and it doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. So like when you
Mm-hmm.
kind of like surrender to that belief of like, all right, like, you know, God's not punishing me. Uh, Life is working for me. The universe, God, like is doing this in a loving way, you know,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a parent, like, you know, I'm going to have to tell you the truth because you really need to get better at this, but it's not, it's tough love, you know,
Yeah.
it
And it's
comes off
usually in
as
forms
tough
of
love,
like
but
situations and things that are like you don't want to experience,
mm-hmm.
but you don't realize sometimes in the moment that like this thing is teaching you or this thing is for something.
Yeah. And at the, like after you kind of go through that period, and like I mean for a lot of us, like depending on the topic, right, like you can go through it all your life. Like I know for a fact, like when my dad passed away, I've said it time and time again, like this is something that has shined a light on like all of my shadows, and it's something that gonna have to work on for years and years. Like it's not something that I'm gonna go through for 3 years, and like I shouldn't shame myself for like, dang, like it's been 3 years since my dad passed away. I should be super happy. I should never cry like out of the blue sometimes because of what I've realized, you know? Like we can be so hard on ourselves.
Absolutely.
So, hmm
Wow.
but yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
It helps. Like it helps to share these things because it liberates you. Like you have so much inside. Once you've like learned, that's the other thing. Like it's almost like it's scary to share, but then it gets to a point where it's just like so much in there that you feel too full. Like you're like, all right, like what do I do with all this like knowledge that I've acquired, all this wisdom, all this like heaviness maybe
Your
that could help other
experience.
people. And like you need courage. At the end of the day, you need courage to really do it, because just like you're afraid of what people might say, like you're already judging yourself like before they have even judged you, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes you're your own biggest critic and your own biggest
Yeah.
barrier in some ways because of your limiting beliefs or
Hmm.
false things that you've adopted
Yeah. You
throughout the
think people
years.
might care more than they might care, you know, or like people
Exactly.
would judge you for things like, oh, you're a crybaby, you're this, you're that, whatever. Like if they judge you, then the heck with it, you know?
So
Like
do you think
just be who
that's
you
when,
are.
yeah. Do you think that's when you were going through all these things, that's when you realized, hey, maybe I will share these things, maybe I will help someone, maybe this is my deeper purpose to inspire, to help heal, to help evolve people?
I would say like in the beginning of it, I was kind of more on the like self-centered aspect of it, of like, why is this happening? You know, why is this
Hmm.
happening to me? Um, then you learn like
Like a
it's
more of a
happening for
victim
me.
mentality.
Yes, which is never helpful. And then you kind of like transition to like, all right, this is happening for me. Like, what can I learn from this? And then once you're like slowly but surely like learning about yourself, then you feel like this, like, oh my God, like this happens because of this. And like, you know, it's not always black and white, but like, this is my experience. Like, this is my journey. And like, I want to share it with you, and I want to share it with this person. I want to share it with everyone I know, because it's who I am. It's part of my journey. And like, I know it could help someone out there, especially like all the little girls and like all their volleyball players that might feel alone, in the sense that like, oh, they're going through like life experiences, and they feel like they have to like put up this like front that everything's good, like just play good, whatever, like I'm always happy, da 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 da. Like it could help them, like, hey, I'll be real and I'll inspire you to be real, you
Hmm.
know.
And then it's like everyone is just encouraging each other to be more of who they are, which I feel
Yeah,
like
how liberating is that?
now more than ever, people are, I think, slowly getting to that point, and it makes me so happy because I feel like there's so much division
Mm-hmm.
always between, we find anything to divide us, right? But it's like at times like these, we find that we're actually so similar in a lot of ways. You know, when you take
Yes.
away all the outside things, when you
Mm-hmm.
take away your identity to this, and this, like at the core, we have all the same basic needs. We want to
Yeah,
be loved, we want to be understood, we want to be doing
yes.
what we're called to do.
Mm-hmm. We all have similar fears. We need others. Like we we all like feel like afraid of the unknown. Like we don't like not having control. Like those are very human things. And
Let's
like,
talk about control a little bit,
yeah.
because that is something that I
Whew.
personally go through. You and I both probably go through, but I think more people than we think do also. Even
Oh
though we
yeah.
don't admit it, like we like to have control over how our days go, you know, what
Mm-hmm.
we're involved in, and right now, like we don't.
Yeah. No,
How do
I
we
mean,
manage?
there's a lot of shame around control. Like you'll
Hmm.
be like, oh, like, yeah, she's a control freak, or like that person's very
Yeah.
controlling, especially in relationships. You're like, oh yeah, control, that's not good.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, no, right now collectively, like we're having to release control, like of knowing, like, for example, one of our basic needs, like just staying alive. Like we need, right now, we need money, you know? We need money to stay alive because we need food, we need a home. Like that's like a very big fear right now going on, of not having control over that. For
Hmm.
some people are like blessed and can remain working, or, you know, work from home, and it's, you know, it's great. But
Hmm.
yeah, like right now we're having to release a lot of control and like come up with new ideas and be creative, you know? And like kind of like lose the grip and be like, just like we were saying, like it's happening for me. All right, like how can I like surrender to this and like just find a way to like work with it, you know?
Hmm.
Because it's not what I wanted it to be, but I'm being redirected in another direction. And hopefully after all of this, like we'll come out of it better, you know?
Hmm.
Like we'll be grateful for it, which is like,
Hmm.
I think the last thing that comes from all the pain and all the gifts that we're given comes the gratitude
Yep.
of having to release it.
Yeah. Let's talk about gratitude also, because I feel like that is such an important thing that sometimes we don't um, remember. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Oh my God,
like
yeah.
gratefulness and being in that state of gratitude is so important throughout
So
everything we're
important.
going through, because it helps keep us like centered
Mm-hmm.
and just realize.
Yeah.
But it's
I
for more than what we think.
Yes. For me, one of my favorite quotes, I forget who says it. It's somewhere in one of my favorite books here. But it says, if the only prayer you say in your life is thank you, it'll be enough.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's
And
so good.
I always remember when I first saw it, I was in Hawaii and like I wrote thank you like in the sand, and then I watched like the ocean just like wash it away. But
Oh,
I I think gratitude is like so like it's alchemy, you know? Like it can transform a human being. Like from the victim attitude, as we were saying, to like someone that feels peace and lets
yeah.
go of control and
Hmm.
surrenders. Because when you're thinking about, oh, what could go wrong, fear, like you're not thinking about what's going right. And that's a very human thing. Like we can
Yep.
all like connect in that sense that we can be more grateful, and we haven't been as grateful as we could be like in the
Hmm.
past.
Hmm.
And so gratitude for me, like it's been so important in my life, because every time I'm grateful, I just feel fear like leave my body, you know? Like I start
Yep.
seeing more things to be grateful about. Like you see it
Yep.
so much like on social media, like Oprah. I love Oprah.
I
She
love
always
Oprah.
Yeah, she always talks about gratitude and how like she'll
Uh-huh.
wake up and the first thing she says is like, thank you, thank you, thank you. How can I be of service today? And
Which is not what a lot of people do. You know, you're
yeah.
thinking about yourself first. How can I get? When you should
Hmm.
be saying, how can I give? How can I serve?
Yeah. And I mean, when you're thinking about being of service, which I think that's like a whole nother topic, but when you're thinking about how can I be of service to others right now, like it takes away from like, oh my God, like if this is gonna happen to me, like how am I gonna handle it, blah blah. Like you're just thinking about
Hmm.
others and like, you know, how to help. And like it's just so much of a better use of your time and energy to like think about what can you be grateful about, and like how can you serve, instead of
Yeah.
all right, like what might happen and like how will I handle it, you know?
I love that so much.
Yeah.
All right, Paulina, any last words? Anything that you want to leave everyone with?
Um, I would say just if you love someone, tell them, you know, like right now is the time to do it. Like write letters, man. Like
Ooh,
yeah,
throw it back.
I've been,
Make a mixtape.
oh my God. I've been writing letters, to myself actually, but I mean, I
Wait,
think,
what do you mean?
uh, well, during this time, like I told you, I've become more aware of like some of my codependent like traits, and like how I've been codependent in my life. So I've been writing to like little pal, you know, the inner
Wow, your inner
child in me.
child. Wow.
Yeah. Which I mean, people talk about it like writing to your inner child, talking to your inner child is like one of the most like healing things you can do, you know? Just kind of letting her know that like I'm here for her, and that it's okay that she's like seeked out men in for safety, because
Mm,
like she didn't have a man in her life like from the beginning.
mm,
Like my dad was not very present.
yeah.
So like that it's okay that she doesn't have to feel shame, that I'll be there for her, you know?
Mm,
And like maybe that'll like help me love myself more, and like it'll help me just be okay with being single, be okay with like not needing validation from a man, you know,
or anyone.
or anyone, exactly. But yeah,
That's
like
so
I've been
good. I'm
writing
gonna
letters
try
to
that.
myself, and you could write letters to whoever, like your grandparents. Like right now it's such a scary time, you know, with um the people that have passed away being like of that age. Like check on your grandparents, you know, and your uncle, your aunt, whatever. um but yeah, no, use this time to be loving and kind. Like I think we haven't mentioned it here, but on our FaceTime we talked about purpose. And
Mm,
like one of the a video I saw this morning by Teal Swan, She talked about finding your purpose is not so much like, what is it that you enjoy? It's finding your purpose is saying, all right, like if I look at the world right now, what is it lacking? Like right now, we don't lack fear. There's plenty of it. We don't lack hopelessness. There's plenty of it. So
Mm-hmm.
what do we lack? We lack hope. We lack kindness. We lack being more thoughtful for others, like stay inside. That's part of being thoughtful. So be those things, embody those things, and maybe you can find your purpose like during this time by doing that, you know?
Wow, that's so good. That's
Yeah.
so good. I love that so much. Okay, well,
Awesome.
everyone, if you want to go follow Paulina, you definitely should. I feel like you're very open on your page about your journey
Mm.
and your healing and just all along the lines of things that we've talked about. You bring it to the next level on your page, which I really appreciate. Sometimes I'm on your
Thank
post, I'm like,
you.
dang, like I need to think about this, or I should dive deeper into this. And it's really encouraging. Like I do appreciate that because it's not
Well, that's
easy
good.
always being open about what you're going through or things you're working on. So I
Yeah.
do appreciate that.
Thank you.
But yeah, and she does play volleyball also. Aside from this, you can follow her
Side
volleyball
job.
journey. But yeah, thank you so much for your
Thank you
time
for
and
having me.
for sharing you have such a good energy about you. So I hope that someone
Thank you
takes from
so
this.
much. I feel the same about you.
All right. Thanks, girl. I'll talk to you
Alrighty.
soon.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.